Talk about a gorgeous morning. You can't get much better than this. It's about 75 degrees, soon to be sunny, but they're also calling for rain again today. So I'm not 100% certain of everything we're going to get done today, but I do know we're going to try to accomplish several things today. And if it does rain, we've got plenty of inside work that we can take care of. Let's go check it out. Eric's downstairs beating his head off trying to get the steps out of the master bedroom. You guys are going to hear a bunch of that. I've got my switch box drawn out. I'm going to cut it, hammer drill it, and get this wire over into it, because I'm going to try to figure out the electrical in this room today. Lucas is cleaning up the soffit, getting ready to install soffit, and as stated a minute ago, Eric is removing the steps in the master bedroom. But you guys are going to remove this with me, so you can see how I mount a box in a masonry wall. So I just took the nail ears off of the box because they're not needed. I think if I clean that inside corner out just a little bit more right down in here, we'll have it. About a ½ inch out of that back corner and we'll have it, but Lucas is having problems with the water, so we gotta go solve that. Castle's throwing more curveballs. So I measured it. I actually need 1 more inch. And I'm going to have to take it out in both directions. So I'm going to get me a rough line here. Get my wire out back here out of my way. I'm going to cut it a little bit, and then I'm going to take my hammer drill bit, and I'm going to drill a series of holes so that I have a point in which I know it's to depth. Big key thing with what I'm doing, I want to drill a hole in my wire. I'm only trying to go 1 inch deep. That's about a 3-inch long tip. Here, I was about 1 inch away from the back side, so I just run it into the back side. I'm kind of using the length as my justification for that. Just like that, we got a box in there. I have created a little bit extra space back here so I can get my wire in the back side, tuck it in. All I have to do is get me a wooden shim behind it. I'll be able to tack on that sucker down tight. Eric needs me. We'll be back. All right, we got Lucas's water situation figured out. Here's my shim. I'm gonna put that on the back side of the box. And the reason I did a shim here is I didn't want to take any more of this wall out, but I need a space for my wire. We've got the wire in the box. Let's take the box, make sure our shim stays in the back side. Our shim's not wanting to play nice. There we go. Give her a little love tap with our hammer. Make sure everything's good and tight. Now, take our hammer drill. We want to hammer drill through the box and the shim into the concrete. moved a little bit, but we can still see the back side there. Box is secured. Looks like I need to tap it a little bit because it's a little unsquared. There we go. Now this wire is new. We have an old wire that was to those two lights. I did confirm those are 90 together somewhere. I am not for sure where. So we ran a new wire to the switch. We've got ourselves a junction box right inside here. We're going to take the wire from the switch to the junction box, and then the old wires, which is hanging right there, into the junction box. So our hot will actually go to the junction box, and then our switch will be over here. So really the switching happens in the junction box in that wall right over there. To get those two lights operational again. And then my understanding is, when I say my understanding is, it's been, sorry you guys are dirty, it's been about 6 months since I've looked at this, but we've got a piece of conduit that goes up, and we've got a piece of conduit that comes down, and the original switch went over to a spot where things were just wire nutted together, so there was no junction box. So I'm operating under the assumption I can also, while making these two lights hot, make that wire hot. And I'm going to take that wire, put another junction box on top, come over, up, and into that, and then I'm going to hang my chandelier from that shackle right there. So that's ultimately what we're trying to get done right now, so that this room's electrical is done. This castle is not very easy. You guys just saw me put that box in. Not very easy to put boxes in the wall, and I really don't want to add a whole bunch of conduit coming down the walls for outlets. So this room right here probably is not going to have any outlets in those walls, but I may try to sneak one from the chase, which is here on the back side, out and get an outlet into that closet wall. Not 100% certain if I can even make that work, but if I can get a 12-2 wire from a junction box, which is going to be hot, over to that closet wall, I can at least get one outlet in that closet wall and maybe a second one on this end. I just don't know how beneficial this would be. Having one over there would be beneficial. So now I've got to figure out that wire. I've got this basically complete. That's just going to accept a switch and get my wire ran from the inside and into the junction box and make sure that that works. All fun stuff. Gonna do some head scratching and some thinking. So this is what we had before. This is what went to the switch, and he's got black to white, black to black, white to white. I believe this 12-2 here goes all the way to those lights. So I'm going to reuse his thought process, undo this little jumper, because that's going to do nothing but get me in trouble, honestly. And actually, I have a simpler process. Let's cut that sucker off. Cut that sucker off. Now undo these. And this is just a temporary, do those lights come on when I plug it into this hot temporary outlet that I have for my Wi-Fi. So let's restrip these. This is again not final. This is just for testing purposes. I'm not even going to hook up the ground. But I am going to wire nut it so that I don't shock myself. So if I'm being completely honest, I do not like messing with electricity, but the castle has a way of making me do things I don't want to do. Or maybe I should say don't like to do. I did go ahead and put a test light up there on that wire that's exposed. I'll show that to you guys here in just a second. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you guys a view of the lights while I plug this thing in, so if I do get electrocuted, you don't see it. Haha, I'm kidding, I'm not gonna get electrocuted. So that is still a bare wire up there. I just twisted it together with my fingers, so the neutral, the ground, and the hot are all wired. So you guys are gonna be able to see that light, and you're gonna be able to see that light, and that light. So when I plug this into this outlet over here to the left that I showed you guys, I'm hoping that those 3 lights come on. Here we go. Oh, my comment came out on the wire nut. Hold on a second. Not gonna work if it's not hooked up. Yes, I know you guys are just staring at the wall, but I'll have this wire nut back on here in mere seconds. All right, here goes nothing. Well, we know for sure it works for those 2 lights. But that light up there did not come on. What I don't know is if it's the bulb. So I'm gonna go get one more. I've got a whole nother test light that I can use, and I've confirmed it has a good bulb in it. So I'm gonna go get a different test light for up there. I put a true test bulb there, wire nutted on. We saw these 2 lights come on, so now I have a true test bulb, and I did confirm it was good by shoving the wires into an outlet. So that bulb should come on. Plug her in here and see what happens. What we got, you all saw before I did. Ah, still no power up there. Okay, there's one more end in here with a plug-in on it. Totally different wire. But it goes up instead of over. This might be it here. We have it. Hey, all right, that means we found the hot wire for that as well. And there's only one wire coming out of that and one tube up there. So that is what I'm gonna do. I can explain this to you guys over here. This is the wire for the lights in the wall. This is the wire for the light in the top. So I am simply going to junction all of those together in this box, along with our wire that goes to our switch. So essentially, this wire and this wire are going to tie together, be pigtailed together, because I am not putting 2 light switches in this wall. Once those are pigtailed together, I can come out of those and put it into the switch, and my hot leg will come up and pigtail into the opposite side of the switch. So it's a really tight spot in there to show you guys all that, but I'm gonna get all that wired up, and then essentially we'll get our single phase switch here, and it'll prove to you guys that that goes on and off, and those go on and off, and then all I have to do is junction box from there over, up the wall with conduit, out the I-beam junction box there, get the chandelier hung. So I'm gonna do some wiring in the hole over here, but I have proven I now know what my hot wire is there and what my hot wire is for the lights on the wall. Now it's just a matter of hooking it all up. Well, alrighty, I have made it back to my switch, and I have a little bit that is very specific that I want to show you guys. You can see my junction box. I've still got all my wires sticking out of it. But what you're gonna notice is right there is a white wire and a black wire together. The reason for that is my hot will not fit in the same pipe that comes to this switch. So I have a need to convert my neutral to a hot to feed the hot side of this switch, which then, once the switch is flipped, the actual hot, which is the black wire in most cases, not all but most, will then send power over to my junction box, which has all the connections spliced together for that light and those 2 lights. So you might ask, well, sure, since there's not 2 black wires, how do you know that that wire is the hot wire? The only way I know how to do that is go ahead and strip your end off to the proper dimension to put your hooks on it. Take you some black electrical tape and wrap black tape around your white wire so that if anybody else was to get in this box to rewire it, put a new switch in, this is including myself. Could be 10 years down the road this switch goes bad. By doing this, I think anyone who does electrical work would agree, this tells the next person that this is the hot wire. And then if you understand switches at all, again, I am not an electrician. I know enough to be dangerous. But if you know anything about switches, when you hook this up on your switch, the hot side always goes to the same spot, and the traveler, which is the hot going to the lights, goes to the other spot. And the easiest way I know how to explain that one is when your switch is off, it's disconnecting to the top side, whereas you're flipping up to point towards that top screw, so your hot goes on the bottom. So again, the white wire is my hot wire. I usually don't like using an impact, but it's what I have in front of me right now. So now the white, hot, because it's got black tape on it, went to the bottom, and the traveler leg that sends the hot to the lights goes on the top side. And then, as always, your ground always goes to the green screw. Now I'm going to get my flat screwdriver that I normally use. It's in my back pocket. Thought it wasn't handy. I'm actually going to properly tighten these down instead of relying on the impact. Now you guys have to remember, I do have a temp light in that top portion. I'm not going to put that switch in the box yet. But the ultimate goal now, I got to go turn the breaker on because I had the breaker off because I was working in the box. Go turn the breaker on, and then I should be able to walk to this switch, flip it on, and those two lights and that light come on. Well, our breaker is on. I would flip the switch with you guys. You're just going to have to listen for me to flip it because I think the more eventful potential is over here on the right where the lights are going to come on. So we've got power now. We're going to flip the switch on. Ta-da! Breaker didn't trip. We didn't send any sparks anywhere, so our junction box is obviously good. And now we have working lights in here. And as stated, I am not going to use that temp light. I'm going to put another junction box up there off of that conduit, run through conduit over up onto the I-beam, put another box here, and then a chandelier is going to hang from that shackle, which has probably been there for years and years and years and is way more capable than just holding a chandelier. So that gives you guys a little bit of an electrical rundown. I will also show you the work that Eric got completed. He was able to get several steps out in the master bedroom. He determined a new process. Instead of cutting them off like he did up here, this C-channel down here is very thick. It's a 1/4 inch thick C-channel. And as we make our way through here, you're going to see what we have left is pockets where that C-channel was embedded almost through the wall. But again, these walls are 2 foot thick essentially. So what we're going to do is we'll mix up some grout and we'll fill those up with grout to make them look, I don't want to say natural, but more natural than great big holes in the wall. This was his starting process. He was cutting them off, and you can see that's some really heavy duty C-channel. And we can't have that sticking out of the wall. So he's going to have to figure out now how to get those out. But I think his continuing process is going to be to pop them loose. Essentially what he does is take a great big sledgehammer, and a pry bar, and he gets it loose, and then he pulls everything out in one shot, and he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more to go. Once he gets these out, these metal poles are poured into the concrete steps. This floor is cantilevered off of that I-beam right there in front of us that you can barely see. So we are going to utilize these poles that again are poured in concrete, which are 1/8 inch wall, will support a significant amount of weight, and we're going to weld flat plates onto this to then be bolted and or screwed 1, 2, 3, 4 places as this treated board sets on the concrete steps here. Because after that, the next step would be to frame a wall here to close off this master bedroom to the entrance for the basement. And when we frame that wall in, we're going to frame in a closet right here that will have an internal rock finish and then drywall on the outside. But we got to do something to get some privacy into this room, and we're going to utilize these poles for multiple things along the way. But the brackets are definitely something that we're going to use welded off of those pipes to get us some really good support. So that's today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'm not really good at electrical, so it took me a lot longer than what I thought, but we got it done. Hopefully you enjoyed, and as always, like, comment, subscribe, turn those notifications on, and don't forget to share away.